Hey guys, for today's video, I want to share with you guys my Juvias Place collection. I honestly really truly love Juvias Place eyeshadows, and a lot of you guys have been really requesting me to use more of their products within my tutorials, as well as like asking me which palettes would you recommend. I haven't tried out Juvias Place before. Which ones do you think would be the best to try? And for today's video, I kind of want to just go over all of the palettes that I have in my collection and kind of tell you guys if I would recommend getting them, what are my favorite shades, and which ones I would probably pass on. And then as you guys can see, I have a ton of products from Juvias Place. I mean, I don't have like their whole collection, but I think I have a pretty good amount. And I also have two of their blush books here as well. But I really do love their eyeshadows. I think they are just amazing for the price. Like seriously, they are super affordable. You get a lot of product for the price as well. They have really cool, unique shades, and honestly, I think their shimmers are dupes to the Makeup Forever eyeshadows. I love Makeup Forever eyeshadows, but if you can get them for the price of Juvias Place, you need to hop on it in my opinion. For the price of Juvias Place palettes, they are just really great quality. Like, if you have never tried them, I highly recommend checking them out, especially when they have a sale, because they usually do like 30 or 40% off. And if you can get them during that sale, like, hop on it and buy a couple, like, you will not be displeased with them. So the first palette we are going to go over today is the Masquerade Palette, which is the first ever eyeshadow palette that I purchased from Juvias Place. And also, this is the palette that I'm wearing mostly today, so I thought it would be fit if we started with this one. Like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but the Masquerade palette compared to my Carity palette. The Carity palette has the same size eyeshadow pans as MAC eyeshadows, and here are the size of the Masquerade ones. This is not the minis though, this is the normal size palette. But as you can see, the pan sizes are huge. And then as for the inside of this palette, this one's really cool because the top two rows are like, you know, your brighter, colorful shades, and then the bottom two rows are your more neutral shades. And I also like that this one has a champagne shade right here called Giza, which is a really nice inner corner shade, or one that is great all over the lid. I actually really love this shade even as a highlighter. I actually used to use it like all the time as a highlighter because I wasn't really like familiar with like glowing highlighters, like those like crazy like Instagram style. And I used to use this one with a little bit of setting spray and it was great. Otherwise, I really love the eyeshadows in here. The only ones I don't really particularly care for, oh, my hair's doing weird stuff, but I do not like Zobo right here. This kind of like raspberry shade. This one is like super patchy and really hard to blend out. I do not like this shadow that much. The color is beautiful, but unfortunately the formula is not that great too. I'm not the biggest fan of every Juvias Place matte eyeshadow that I've tried. I'm not even the biggest fan of Fulani down here, or which one is it? Zulu right here. These ones aren't that great. Even Bori up here, they can be just kind of a bitch and a half to blend out. And personally for me, I have shades very similar, so normally I don't gravitate towards these. But the shimmers in here, now that is a totally different story. Like these top shimmers up here and Akita, Giza, and all the other ones, like they are amazing. They're very buttery, they're very easy to apply. You don't need to wet your brush unless you want them like crazy metallic, but they work beautifufully without wetting your brush, which I really enjoy. And then I'm going to insert some swatches for you guys. Just for awareness purposes, I wear shade 42 out of the Kat Von D Lock-It Foundation, and I can also wear Blanc out of the Hourglass Spanish Stick Foundation. So as always with all of my swatches, I'm going to go from left to right in the palette, and then from the top of the palette to the bottom. And I'm also not going to be wetting my hands before applying the eyeshadows. There is no base on my arm. I'm just going to do a nice dry swatch so we can see the color. So first off, here is Chai, Molly, Dahlia, Zola, Makita, Zobo, Calaor, I'm not too sure how to pronounce that one, Bori. So here's the top two rows of the eyeshadows. And then for the next row, Giza, Burkina, Cairo, and then here is Ada. And then for the next row, Dahlia, Zulu, Casablanca, which is one of my absolute favorite movies, and oh my gosh, look at that pigmentation. And then last but not least, Fulani, I believe is how you can pronounce it. So the next palette I'm going to share with you guys is the Magic palette. Again, I have the normal sized pan ones, I do not have the mini. And this one I actually purchased on release date. I normally usually wait for a sale, but I actually purchased this one on, you know, full price because I really enjoyed the Masquerade so much in the other palettes that I had to pick this one up. Then here is the inside of the Magic palette. I'll be honest, this is one of those palettes that I really like pick and choose colors in it. I don't normally use more than like maybe like 1 or 2 at a time out of this palette because it is such a really cool tone palette as well. I really actually prefer these bottom 2 rows right in here. I don't normally use the top shades all that much. Honestly, I don't even know if I have used all of them in this palette. Normally I only use like Eve, Faso or Faso, I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. This one's my favorite in the palette by a long shot. This one is so pretty and it's a beautiful like purpley duochrome. I also use Yamosha, I believe. I use that one a lot. And I also use Asia, which is this kind of deep matte green shade. And I really enjoy Yazid. I think that's how you pronounce it. I have a horrible time pronouncing these eyeshadows and I'm super sorry if I'm offending anybody by pronouncing them wrong. I do actually prefer my Masquerade one over this one just because I feel like I use more of the shades in there than this one. But you know, it's still a really pretty palette and I really love these bottom rows. I think they're super unique. I don't have those kinds of shades in other palettes that perform as well as these ones. And you know, like Zuba up here, that one's really pretty. Osun. I just don't really care for their matte formula too. Like in my head, this palette doesn't really go all that well together. Like it just seems really hodgepodgey. I don't know how else to explain it, but it just seems like it's kind of like colors are just placed like randomly, and like these top 2 rows are more kind of warm, and then the bottom 2 are more cool. But otherwise, it just seems like they're kind of oddly placed. Whereas with the Masquerade, it seems a little bit easier in my head to kind of like figure out what colors pair well together. And then right here, I will insert swatches for you guys. Here is Nubia. Zakia, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Osa, Cassie, Zuba, Nana, Breyonna, and then Koji. And again, I am super sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of these shades. Then for the next one, Faso. I just love that shade. It's so pretty. Asia, Vey, I believe, and then Yamoja. And for the next row, Eve, Yara, Buzo, and then Yazid, which is the last shade out of the palette. I don't like this one all that much. It's kind of patchy sometimes for me. So the next palette I would like to share with you guys is the Zulu palette. I think this one's super cool on the outside. I love the design of it, and I love like how it's like this like iridescent kind of white to it. It's just a really cool looking palette, and honestly I also really love the shades in here. It literally looks like a rainbow sped up in it. And this palette was the first ever palette that I did a 1 palette challenge with, and I used all 9 eyeshadows in here with 1 look, and that is all I used in that look too, was just the 9 eyeshadows in here. And if you guys are interested in checking that out, I will leave a link in the description box for you. You see what I mean though? It looks like a rainbow in here, but it's also kind of like a sophisticated rainbow because you get like this really cool nice chocolatey brown. You get a mac and cheese yellow, so it's not like a neon yellow, and you can also use this yellow more like kind of for neutral looks. And then you also get this really pretty kind of rose gold pink shade. But when I was doing my 1 palette challenge, this chocolate brown and this rose gold really threw a wrench in my look because I was like, how am I gonna use all 9 shades and use those eyeshadows? But I really love this palette. However, if you are not the biggest fan of the matte shades from Juvias Place, this one is mostly matte shades. They're not like my favorite honestly, but they are really pretty. I really love like the orange and the yellow in the palette, and this pink and this blue, or I mean this blue actually, this kind of seafoam green. I honestly am not the biggest fan of the purple in here. I think this one's really hard to use, and it's really hard to kind of blend out sometimes. Like if you're willing to work with it, you can get it this pigmented, but for me personally, I have other eyeshadows and other palettes that I prefer a lot more than this one. If you are somebody that's looking for a rainbow kind of style of palette and you don't know where to start and you don't really want to spend a ton of money on one, I would highly recommend checking this one out because this one goes really well with neutral shades as well. And then you also get like a really nice chocolatey brown in here, and it's just a really great palette, and it's really easy to pair this palette with other neutral palettes. So if you're looking kind of like where to start with rainbow colors, I would definitely recommend picking this one up. And then as for swatches on this one, I will insert them right here. Here's the orange. Here is the yellow. This one isn't like the most pigmented yellow that I have in my collection, but it's still really pretty on the eyes. You just have to kind of work with it to blend it up. Here is the chocolate brown. And again, this one you still have to kind of build up to get it to the intensity that you're looking for. Here is the seafoam green. This shade is super pretty. Here's the lime green shimmer shade. That one's by far one of my absolute favorites in the palette. I just cannot get over how pigmented it is. Here is the bright blue shimmer. That's another really great formulated eyeshadow from them. Here is that rose gold shade. And here is the hot pink. And then last but not least, here is the matte purple. I'll be honest, the Saharan 2 palette is not one of my absolute favorite eyeshadow palettes. I don't know, it's just not one that I really gravitate towards. Again, I'm not somebody that really enjoys doing like neutral looks, so maybe that is the reason. But I normally only use this one if I want to like pick and choose colors, because I don't know, I just don't really wear like neutrals with pops of blue and red to them. It's just not something I wear all of that often. However, I really like the shades in this palette. The shades I really, really love in this palette are Aziza right here, which is like kind of a light gold shade. This is another one that's a really pretty highlighter if you are fair-skinned like I am. I also really love Shefashuan. I'm not too sure how to say that one, but it's a really beautiful kind of minty blue shade with kind of like a green reflect to it. It's super, super pretty. And I also love Zonra, which is this kind of, it looks like it's a burgundy in the palette, but when you apply it, it's kind of like a hot pink kind of medium red shade. It definitely is more deceiving in the pan than what it actually is when applied, but I really like that shade and I use it a lot because it's such a pretty shade, especially for like red looks or looks that you're using a lot of pink. It's really pretty to use to kind of deepen it up. However, I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is one of those palettes that I don't really use all that much. I really like it, but I wouldn't probably pick it up again. If I did lose it, I probably wouldn't get a second one. It's still really pretty, but I don't know, I just don't use it as much as my other ones. And then for swatches, I am going to insert them here. Here is Marrakesh, Aziza. Ooh, I love this one. Isn't that pretty? It's like a really beautiful kind of light gold shade. Here's Hadia, I believe how you pronounce it. And here is Berber. Isn't that beautiful though? Then the next shade is Nomad. Shefashuan. I am so sorry I'm pronouncing that one wrong. But see what I mean? It's such a cool, unique shade. It's like minty green, but also has like a yellow kind of tinge to it. It's super, super pretty. This one as like an inner corner highlight, it is beautiful. Here is Fez. See if I can get this one to blend out a little bit better. Then here's Zonra. See what I mean though? It's not like it's red in the, like in the palette, it looks like it's going to be, how do I show you guys? But like that middle shade, like you see what I mean? Like in the palette, it looks like it's going to be like this deep, rich burgundy, and then when you apply it, it's like a pinky red shade. And then the last shade out of the palette, Taza. So the next palette I'm going to share with you guys is the Saharan Blush Book Volume 1. And you guys are going to probably think I'm a little crazy, but I actually purchased these because they were on a super crazy good deal, steal of a deal. Like, I'm not even kidding. They were super, super cheap. I was actually hoping that the formula of the blushes and highlighters in these palettes would be the exact same as the eyeshadows. I was like crossing my fingers. I'm like, I hope the formula is the same. I hope that they aren't as pigmented. And then here's the inside of the Saharan Blush Book Volume 1. I don't use this palette all that much, and I honestly wish I wouldn't have purchased it. Like, I totally took a stab in the dark, but I just honestly do not use it all that much. I don't know, like the gold shades in here, they're super similar to me, and even on the eyes, they don't look all that much different. And the only shades I really use in here are Zane and Toby. The Zane and Toby shades, they are definitely super pigmented, and they're pretty much honestly the same formula as the matte eyeshadows in the other palettes, in my opinion. However, if you like the colors in here, I actually think that the shimmers in here and all of the matte eyeshadows are the exact same formula. So if you like the colors in here and you like Juvias Place eyeshadows, they're the exact same. However, if I'm point blank honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this palette. I probably wish I wouldn't have purchased it because I have other eyeshadows that are similar in other Juvias Place palettes that I have, and I also have similar eyeshadows in other brands. So for me personally, there's nothing really special about this. It's great though if you can get it on a good deal, but it's nothing like revolutionary or something I would get again if I lost it. And then as for swatches, I will insert them here. Here is Zara, Neo, and here's Leela. You see what I mean though, like Zara and Leela, there's not too much of a difference in between the two. They honestly seem very, very similar, other than Zara is a little bit more gold than Leela. Then here is Zane. I love this one actually. It's a really pretty hot pink. Here's Toby. And here's Abby. So we can get that one to blend out a little bit better. And then the last palette I'm going to share with you guys today is the Saharan Blush Book Volume 2. And again, just like the Volume 1 palette, I did purchase this one to be used as eyeshadows. And if I could use this one as on my face, I was going to be super excited as well. But for me personally, the colors in here just do not go well with my skin tone. I'm just way too fair for them, if I'm completely honest. But I did purchase this one in hopes that, you know, the highlighters and blushes in here would be able to be used as eyeshadows, just like with the Volume 1 palette. And then here's the inside of this palette. I have tried Lena and B before as blushes, and B is way too pigmented for me, and it's just way too deep for my skin tone. And Lena right here is Barbie pink on me. Like, it makes me look like a China doll. It's just way too pigmented. It's way too hot pink for me. And then Zoba right here kind of gives me a gray cast as a highlighter, so I normally do not gravitate towards that one. But again, the blushes and the highlighters in here are literally the identical formula to the eyeshadows. I never use this one. I never gravitate towards this palette. I don't know if it's because it's more mauve tones and I'm just not somebody that wears mauves all that much, or what it is, but I just don't use this palette like ever. I've tried a couple times and I've kind of picked and chose kind of different colors in here. This is the one palette I probably would never pick up again, and the other blush book, just because they're just not colors that I use in my looks, and I have other palettes that I prefer that have kind of similar shades, but ones that I use more regularly. But I don't know, just doesn't speak to me. And then last but not least, for the swatches of this palette, I will include them here. Here is Yara, Sola, and then Teu, and here is B. This one actually has a really nice formula to it. Here is Zoba. This one's kind of like a rose gold. If you're looking for a really nice rose gold highlighter, you'll probably like this one. And then last but not least, here is Lena. And this one is kind of powdery in texture. You can tell my skin is just like, please stop swatching and removing eyeshadow with all that makeup remover. It's like starting to get like super irritated. And then here is my nasty makeup remover towel. Like, this is all of the palettes removed in one, and that's just gnarly. But yeah, so I hope you guys found this video very helpful and that the swatches kind of helped you in your decision making. I know when I was first going to film this video, I was like, I am definitely including swatches, because I remember when I was first ordering Juvias Place eyeshadows that it was super hard to find swatches on my skin tone, so I wanted to make sure that I included those for you guys as well. Let me know in the comments down below which palette is your favorite from Juvias Place, or which palettes that you have from them in your collection. I would love to hear what you guys have as well. And then, as always, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram account is @lethal_kitten. And also, I've gotten really into Twitter lately. Like, I have no idea what's happened. I haven't used my Twitter in a very long time. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I want to try Twitter. So if you would like to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter account is @lethalskittens. But yeah, so I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye!